Isaac is born, which is the right side. Do you remember Ishmael? Ishmael was born to Hagar, which means the left side. And here is the beautiful thing. Neither of these is more important than the other. Huh? The physical side is just as important as the spiritual side. Because what the heck is good of having a beautiful spirit if you don't have a life? And what's important about having a life if you don't have a beautiful spirit? They're equal. They're equal. And so here we see in Genesis chapter 21, verse 9, Sarah saw the son of Hagar, the Egyptian, which she had born unto Abraham, mocking, which means that there is an inability for these two sides to coexist. See, there's got to be a separation point, but they're each equally important. They can't be together. And then it says in Genesis chapter 21, verse 14, that Abraham rose up early and took a bottle of water and bread and gave it to Hagar and sent her out. And this is really cruel. Here is Hagar with this little child. And I want you to listen to this very carefully because how beautiful this is and how you go and you hear John Bradshaw, you go to the psychologist, you hear all of this stuff on television about the child within you, the wounded child within you. This is Ishmael. This is Ishmael who is the wounded child within you. Okay? And it says here in Genesis chapter 21, verse 16, look what it has. So Hagar goes and she sits down against him a good way off, and she says she cannot see this child. So here's Hagar here. She takes little Ishmael and puts him under a tree here to let him die. But she has to stay here because she can't listen to his crying. What this means is that when you take the child within you, the wounded child, out into the wilderness, which is meditation, you set that child down away from you. You take no thought. And then you just wait. The beautiful story says that God started to hear. He started to hear the child within you, the wounded child within you. This isn't something spiritual. This is the child that's been wounded by your parents. This is the child that's been wounded by your schools. This is the child that's been wounded by the government. This is the child that's been wounded by religion. This is the child that you're carrying around deep within you now that is struggling to find some type of peace, that is struggling to find some type of direction and can't because deep within inside there is something hurt and something crying. And this is the beautiful part here. In Genesis chapter 21, verse 18, God hears this child, and he says, "Fear not, arise, lift up the lad, hold him in your hand, for I will make him a great nation." It's not the spiritual part of you that's being saved now. It's that which is you, the physical part, the part that has sex, the part that goes to Atlantic City, the part that goes to the ball game, the part that marries, the part that eats. This that is within you has been saved. This is the manifestation. Meditation is not so you can drift off in a cloud somewhere. Meditation is so that you can live. You can live with your family. You can live with your children. You can live with your friends. You can experience. And then when you were willing to go into the wilderness and lay the child away from you by taking no thought, under that tree which is knowledge comes the voice within you that says, "Okay, I heard it. Lift it up. Carry it now. Lift it higher and higher and higher, for the child will be a great nation." And not only metaphysically, but physically, Ishmael has become a great nation because Ishmael is Arabia. Ishmael is the Muslim nation. Muslim nation. But Ishmael is also you. And the Muslim nation is always at war with the spiritual nation, but yet equally important to it. And equally must be nurtured. And then finally in Genesis chapter 21, 25, Abraham and Abimelech make a covenant. And then there's one last thing that happens here. It says in Genesis chapter 21, verse 25, Abraham reproved Abimelech because of a well which Abimelech's servants had violently taken away. Have you gotten it yet where I'm at? Remember what we did with little, what's her name? Amber this morning. Took the water. Water is the truth. Huh? The well is the place, the deep place within you where the truth comes from. Huh? Abimelech, which represents the left side, took the well. Abraham said, "What'd you do that for?" Took it away in violence. Huh? And then it says in Genesis chapter 21, verse 26, Abimelech said, what are you talking about? This is the first I've heard of this. It is your spirit that understands when truth is gone. The left side, which is your carnal nature, takes truth away, not intentionally, out of the violence and out of the horror and of the guilt and fear of the mind, and the well disappears. But it is then that which is the divine mind which recognizes and calls attention to it. And so then again, the two of them make a covenant between themselves. It doesn't mean this one was bad. It doesn't mean this one was good. Each has a part to play. Each serves a purpose. And it says in the beautiful part here as we wrap this up, Genesis chapter 21, verse 28, Abraham set 7 ewe lambs of the flock by themselves. You know what 7 ewe lambs are? Females. And what are the 7? The 7 chakras, which are the female aspects of the nerve centers that rise up the spine and react to that which is your meditation. And so those 7 are set, the 7 female aspects. And it says in Genesis chapter 21:30, for these 7 shall thou take of my hand, that they may be a witness unto me that I have dug this well. Are you digging that well? That's your well. That's Abraham's well. That's the well deep inside of you. That's the one that Abimelech took, his group took. He didn't really want it to happen that way. He didn't even know it happened. You sometimes lose that which is the truth. You don't even know it's happening. But Abraham has put these 7 females, that's the 7 points, the 7 chakras of the nerve centers at the spine, and he puts this holy place of water, and he digs deep within you so that you can be restored and that you can be renewed. Thus the carnal and the divine coexist. But as it says in the story, then at that point they've got to separate and go their way. The left side and the right side will never be holding hands with one another. They'll each be doing their own thing. But you've got to understand that each have a very important purpose in your life. And the only trouble is the only one that you've ever known is Abimelech. The only one you've ever known is Cain. The only one you've ever known is Lot. You've got to be introduced to Abraham. You've got to be introduced to all of that which is on the right side. You've got to be aware and become enlightened to the fact that in many instances your well is gone. And you've got to say to Abraham, which is, I got to dig a new well. I got to put a new well and put those 7 little female lambs there. And I'll hold them close to me. And then the water will burst forth from deep within me. And I'll start to understand. And I'll start to be free. And I'll start to take a new life. And Hagar, that little beautiful part of you, which is the physical and has been so hurt, must go into the wilderness of meditation. And you must separate then from little Ishmael. Lay him under the tree of life and get away from him. That means take no thought. Don't listen. Don't be any part of it. But that which is within you, that which is above you, will hear that child cry, that wounded, broken child within you. And then the voice will come, okay, it's time to take the child back into your arms and go walking with your head held high, because I'm going to make that within you a great nation. I'm going to make that within you something special for you, for your family, for your children, for nature, for the universe in this Aquarian age, for all who come in contact with you. It is a new age. It is a new way. It is new life. It is new for you. And you know the good part? It's true. And you can prove it. You don't have to die to find it out. Enter within. Open the door. And the adventure breaks forth for you. Thank you very much for sharing this time about the strange story of Abraham and Abimelech. And what are we doing next week?